All right, welcome to the Sundaypuncher podcast. This is Angelo, your host. I'm the writer from Sundaypuncher, and I have Jason Hess back here with me. He is from Reddit Boxing, and he's a moderator there. And Brighton Goose, who adds an accent to the podcast. He's from Brighton, England. Oh, you know
Hello.
what? I'm sorry. That's actually not your name. Your name is Simon. Did I say Simon? I don't think I said it.
Yeah, either's fine.
Sorry, Simon. He has a name. And Jason, welcome, guys.
Hello, hello.
Hey,
Yeah, you guys are an excited bunch.
well, you have to
Oh,
remember
yeah.
I've been up late. It's a Sunday, and obviously the Saturday I'm always up late for watching an American fight. So it ended about I don't know 4:30, 5 a.m. over here.
Was it worth your
Uh,
time to stay up that late to watch last night's Rios Alvarado? Uh,
Yeah, I never miss them live. It's worth it catching them. It's actually a really different fight to what I was expecting. To be honest, I thought it was going to be way more competitive.
yeah, I'd say that too. But at least it ended early for you, right?
Yeah, it was early night. I was
yeah, you could
expecting
thank
an early
Alvarado for
fight.
that.
Yeah, it came from the wrong place. I thought that it was going to be the undercard fight that went shorter and that Rios went longer, but either
Right.
way around, yeah, early night.
So, do you guys think that a lot of people are saying that Alvarado quit before the fight even started, and whatever problems he had, he had. Um, but do you guys think that Alvarado quit while the referee was actually counting, or was it in the corner?
So I got the impression when he was being counted, it was like he was looking away and sort of shaking his head, looking disinterested. I thought he was going to give up there. I was amazed when he stood up.
Jason, you
Uh,
don't have anything to add? Was it that good?
it was exceptional. No, I'm kidding. It was entertaining to a degree. Honestly, it was depressing. It was really tough to watch. So
Mm.
if I walked away with anything from that fight, it was kind of like you're watching somebody's career end in front of your eyes. He just didn't seem to have any heart. He just didn't seem to be in it. He was obviously distracted with all the stuff that we saw from the pre-fight buildup, getting arrested, blah blah blah. And it was kind of shitty to listen to Lampley like rail into a guy who's already having a hard time in his life about that kind of stuff.
Mm.
But from HBO's side of things, it's like, hey, we're paying you a ton of money to come and be prepared, and we hear all this stuff is
To be a
happening.
professional.
So I really get both sides of it. But for whatever reason, last night I was just kind of really connecting with Alvarado and just like really feeling for him a lot and just being like, oh man, he's in a really rough place in his life. And then on
I
top of it,
don't.
he has to go and get beat up by Rios pretty bad.
Yeah, as someone who's not followed the pre-fight build-up too close, I've seen lots of references to like personal struggles and things in his personal life. Can you elaborate on that for me?
Yeah, well, what happened was, I think early last week, he got caught around 4 o'clock in the morning as a passenger in a car with expired license plates, and the police noted that they saw him like shuffling around and putting something in the glove box, and it turns
Hmm.
out they had an unregistered firearm, and he's a convicted felon, so you can't be around an unregistered firearm as a convicted felon.
Got ya.
So,
Makes sense.
kind of typical Mike
What is he
Alvarado
doing?
stuff.
Yeah,
He's a gangbanger. Yeah, he's a gangbanger.
it's silly he's not been able to let that go or just put it on pause, for his professional career. You can go do that when you're retired, but
He
You see
let
a
it
lot of
ruin.
athletes do that though.
mm,
Yeah,
You
yeah.
saw Aaron Hernandez,
And
who,
as
if you
yep.
didn't hear about this, he was an American football player, and played on a really good team, and for some reason couldn't let the life go. And this guy's serving time right now for murder.
Yep. Yeah, he's
And
from
wow.
Bristol, Connecticut. Actually, he's right about 20 minutes away from where I live.
so, do
Uh,
you think he's innocent?
Absolutely not. No, there's like video of him executing someone. Like yeah, like it's a pretty
Um,
open
bang
and
to
shut
rights
case.
then, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But back to Alvarado really quickly. Is it just he was not in a place for this fight, just mentally. You know what I mean? Like he just wasn't ready for this fight. I don't think, and he let those kind of outside influences mess up the Provodnikov fight. He also let it mess up his chance for the biggest payday of his life in a Pacquiao fight, which he didn't show up to the negotiations for. Coming off of Rios Alvarado too, it was supposed to be Alvarado Pacquiao. He didn't
Mm.
show up to the negotiation table because he was too busy, messing around and just couldn't get his act together to show up to get the biggest payday of his life. So
Yeah,
I just kind of feel bad for the guy a little bit, but at the same time, I understand. Hey, you're a professional. You need to train. So there's definitely two schools of philosophy on that one.
That's
Yeah.
it. The world's, the world's not going to be patient for you while you get your act together. I mean,
Exactly.
you can't expect that. Who can?
No.
But yeah, it was depressing. It was. I don't know. I can't say that I want to see him in the ring again at all. Probably.
I know, wasn't it tough to watch? I mean,
Mm.
when Rios walks away from a fight with Mayweather-like statistics for, punch
Yeah.
punches landed and
Yeah.
punches landed on him, like it was just like that's you're
I'll
not
tell
in a
you
good
what.
place.
The best comment for me, I was watching the fight live with a friend of mine who's only recently getting into boxing. So he used to be really involved in it as a youngster, and he's been away from the scene for 10 years now. So he's just getting back into it, and we're watching this fight together. And he says about Alvarado, man, that guy looks like he's shown up just to be a punching bag. And to look like that against
Funny you
Rios,
say
the
that.
irony hasn't lost on me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's true, there was I couldn't figure out his game plan even. It was like he'd gone there, I don't know, to have a brawl with a brawler, or it's just odd.
I don't
It
even
was
think there was a game plan.
it was disastrous right from the start. Like he was standing toe to toe with Rios in the opening round. Like he had no movement. He was
Yeah.
just there getting tagged left and right, and even when he was getting hit, like he was just getting hit flush too.
Yeah.
It was the exception when Rios missed a punch.
If
Right?
it was competitive, I'd have been okay with him going on to be a sort of gatekeeper or benchmarker for up and coming prospects. But looking like he did, I just can't warrant that now.
No,
So,
do you
let
guys
me just-
have you guys seen that Tyson documentary?
No,
I've
I don't think so.
Which one are you referring to, and what about it?
It's not the one that Spike Lee made. It was made a few years ago, and Tyson said that he was all high and whatever through it. But there was one thing that was really interesting from that documentary that reminded me that this fight reminded me a lot of, and it was that Tyson talks about seeing Muhammad Ali fight Trevor Berbick. I think it was Trevor Berbick. Somebody might message me and tell me that I'm an idiot, but I think it was Trevor Berbick, and Berbick just beat up the shell of Muhammad Ali. You can see in Ali's eyes that he wanted to fight back, that he had the thought process was still there, and he was still a champion mentally, but his body just couldn't do it, and he was trapped, just getting pulverized by Berbick. And that's what Alvarado looked like to me. And I know people are gonna, they might say that I'm crazy for comparing, but that sort of just I'm trapped in my own body and I'm getting beat up look on his face. Like I just saw it all over Alvarado last night.
Yeah, and he was getting desperate. There was that. I'm fairly sure it was an intentional low blow just to get some breathing time. He was just desperate to do anything to try and put himself back in the fight, and just wasn't going his way at all.
Yeah,
but you're right. He looked almost trapped. Like he just couldn't get off, and you could tell there was something in his face where he almost like resigned to it in a way where he just kept getting hit over and over and over. And it was like he wasn't even trying. It was really difficult to watch.
Do you guys even care to find out what Alvarado has left?
No, definitely not.
Yeah, when I was leading up into this fight, my thought was whoever wins, whoever loses, they'll probably, both end up kind of being gatekeepers, for up and coming top rank fighters. But at this point, I think really it's for Alvarado, the best thing that he could do is hang it up for now and just kind of get his act together. The problem for Rios is he looked like amazing for a lot of people. So if people can't see that in the context of really it was just Alvarado who looked horrible, people might think Rios is a lot better than he actually is.
Yeah, I was going to say, once we're done playing the violin for Alvarado, what does it mean for Rios?
I know, I'm sorry. He got
No,
me.
it's fine. I've indulged in that as well. But where does Rios go from here?
Yeah, it's tricky
it's gotta
because
be a rematch with Diego Chavez.
Yeah, that'd be a great fight. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's a great fight, but it's a
it's a great move from a promotional standpoint.
I think what we will see instead is something like him fighting someone like, say, Brooke. I think that might get made just out of
I don't know because Brook can jab and Rios does not do well against the
Oh,
guys that can
I
jab.
think it's a horrible matchup, of course, but I think that as we were commenting on, I think if enough people don't appreciate the context of Alvarado looking bad and they think Rios is back, he's reignited, he's amazing, that the call might start being there for him to go in against these, bigger names at welterweight, and I think he will just get demolished if that does happen.
I mean, that's a world title shot against Brook.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be
I
It's
think
not
something.
like he's fighting Diego
Brooks
Chavez.
relatively unknown though. Brooks not like a hugely popular draw on the he's not a crossover star by any means, and that's why I think just in terms of draw potential, Rios has been in there with like Pacquiao and he's done some, he's notable. I think that he'd almost kind of like feel like the A side going into that matchup just purely because he's so much more well known.
You're always so critical of the British fighters.
Yeah, it's just about the credit they get on the world stage, and Brooks going to be excellent within the division as long as he keeps doing what he's doing and gets some tough shots in. Then he's going to elevate his success and status. But until he pulls off a big win against someone like Khan or someone on that level, I don't think anyone's going to pay him his dues, and that's why I think we're going to see him in a couple mismatches this year.
Oh, you mean beating Sean Porter, who everybody thought was the answer to Mayweather?
Yeah, exactly.
Wasn't
And you
enough.
see how many. Suddenly, a lot of people put down their Sean Porter signs and then denied ever holding them, and suddenly everyone became Captain
me.
Hindsight and knew all along.
Not me. I really did think Porter was going to beat him. He was going to give Mayweather trouble. But let's change the subject because that's enough of that.
Yeah. So yeah, I think realistically, Rios is going to be in a mismatch this year. I think because of that performance now.
Right. He almost didn't do himself any favors by looking so good because
Yeah, exactly.
he's going to get elevated to a point where he's going to get blown out again. So, but
I
that's
totally
fine.
agree.
Yeah.
If it earns him good money and he's happy to do it, fair play.
Exactly. I just got one more thing to cover on this. At least all of the Gaddy Ward trilogy stuff is now completely laid to rest. There's never going to be a Legendary Knights. There's never going to, it's over. Lampley could suck his tears back up and, we'll lay that analogy to rest with these two guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was silly to be getting tossed around in the first place.
Exactly.
I feel vindicated now.
Exactly.
Just so smugness.
Yeah, it was a stupid selling point, I think, to begin with, and it wasn't even accurate in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
but HBO was just doing their best to, try to promote the fight. But at least now it's all came out in the wash that, hey, this is not what that was.
Who do you guys feel better about for the future, Gilberto Ramirez or Rios?
Oh, take it, Simon.
No, I mean that's a kind of loaded question, really. It's a bit, I don't know.
It's a transition. Just
this is
your opportunity to talk about Ramirez and get off Rios.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. I mean, in terms of for the future, because Gilberto, I don't know. I was underwhelmed by him last night. I don't know. What were your thoughts?
I'd say he's exceptional in his sustained body attack. I like that. He went to the body early and often, and I think that actually ended up playing a role in this fight. So that was really good. What was not good was that the fight fell into a pattern after the third round, and it's like I watched the same round over and over for 10 rounds, basically. You know what I mean?
You're right about him going to the body, but I think they got to points where he was almost like hesitant to go upstairs again. He was just looking for the body shot that wasn't coming. It wasn't a forthcoming. Because, I mean, Vlasov's elbow was kind of like sellotaped or sticky tape, you call that, to his liver that was not coming away from the liver like almost the whole fight. And it meant that he didn't have any guard around his face. And, Ramirez just didn't throw upstairs, and it was surprising because it looked like he was wide open. So it was like the opposite problem to what you often see, where fighters are just looking for that, to knock someone's head off and forget about going to the body. It almost felt like Ramirez had the opposite, where he just lost interest in going upstairs and wanted to blow him away by the body.
I think Vlasov did a really good job convincing him not to do that, because whenever there were head exchanges between the two of them, Vlasov wouldn't always win the exchanges, but he did land a lot of clean, straight shots that Ramirez was probably like, I'm not interested in getting hit by that anymore. But the body attack is much safer. right now for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you saw Ramirez at the end of the fight, his left cheek and eye was a bit red from where he'd been tagged, so he had been successfully spotted. And against that caliber of opponent on paper, anyway, I feel that he should have looked better to be able to live up to the expectations people are starting to put on him.
And the other thing, I don't think there was ever much risk that Vlasov was going to get, his 16th pro knockout in that fight. You know what I mean? So I feel like Ramirez could have stepped it up a little bit. Back to like what I was saying is the fight kind of fell into this pattern. Is I wish, it just had kind of gotten, punched up a little bit and, really kind of turned it on maybe towards the end of the fight and really, shown a little more intensity. But everybody just kind of seemed content with the roles they were in and just let the fight play out on its own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a scorecard that was a bit narrow, but I don't even blame them, to be honest, because I don't think that they've done enough to guarantee it.
I agree. I don't think that was a fight where you could really complain about a narrow scorecard.
No,
Because Vlasov
exactly.
was landing the punches. It was really strange because usually when one fighter has a big body attack, the scorecards can kind of go against them. And for the most part, the scorecards were accurate. But Vlasov did land a lot of the really clear shots that were memorable throughout the fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you guys think Ramirez can beat DeGale, Groves, or Callum Smith?
I think you got to forget about Smith for the time being. I think as it stands, Smith would probably do his work on Ramirez. I'd be interested in seeing DeGale.
Yeah,
I
that
think
was my
that'd be a
thought.
tense one. Yeah, DeGale, because DeGale's not, neither of them have faced anyone as good as each other type fight. So I think that it would be difficult to be too confident either way beforehand.
What about Groves?
I like the Groves fight too. I think that's a good fight. I'd probably I don't know. I'd probably favor Groves slightly. He kind of rubs me the wrong way, so I got to get my personal, aside.
Mm,
So I probably would favor him slightly in that fight. But I think it would be that would be like the perfect potential matchup to really make a name for himself for Ramirez.
Oh, definitely.
Because it's a completely winnable fight. For
Yeah,
Ramirez.
100%.
Yeah.
Groves has the kind of same makings as what we've seen in Amir Khan's career of the red mist descends and he just goes looking for a knockout that's not coming and subsequently makes mistakes. And I think if Ramirez and his camp are clever enough, they can probably exploit that and could possibly do a number on Groves by, using his own anger and knockout, potential against him.
I think Ramirez knocks Groves out. I don't think Groves can handle that body attack. We've seen Froch twice really put or go to work on Groves' body and Groves withers.
Mm.
Yeah, Groves does wither. That's a great word for it.
DeGale, I think, beats Ramirez just because he can outbox him. I mean, DeGale is highly underrated.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, DeGale Groves in a rematch would be outrageously competitive, and I think that DeGale probably takes it,
If DeGale goes to the body, Groves is done. And Smith is the wild card because he's so young and we've seen him struggle to really do what he really wants to do in fights. Like, he really wants to impose himself, and sometimes he just doesn't. Maybe because he's not varying his attack enough or whatever it is. And I think that's a major fight that could happen further down the road because both are big body punchers. Speaking of Ramirez and Smith. And they're young, and they're both really tall for the division.
Yeah, they are lanky, definitely, for super middle.
Ramirez
We can all
gives up
agree,
a lot
though.
of that length, though. He, consistently gives up that length.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he
And
does
he's
fight like a
pretty
small
easy
guy.
to hit. He fights like a small guy, and he gets hit a lot upstairs. I was, he definitely
He actually
gets
has no head
tagged.
movement.
Yep. Yeah. No.
I don't think he avoided any jab last night.
I know, but he didn't seem to be too affected by them. Like you said, they definitely accumulated by the end of the fight, Simon, like he had mentioned. But he never at any point seemed like he was in trouble from them. I guess
No,
is what I'm
definitely
saying. But
not.
that also speaks to Vaslov's power. So.
Mm. Yeah, it's a dangerous one as well, though, because when you're in the ring and the adrenaline's running, you get caught with those little tags and you think, oh, that didn't hurt me, that didn't hurt me, and you end up with your face looking a bit marked up. But that
Exactly.
cumulative damage, you reach a tipping point where it's just too much. And by the time you're aware of that, your own body, before your body lets you know that's where you are and how deep you're in, it's too late by that point. And
Yep.
so it worries me that he's not sensibly thinking, well, I am getting tagged. I don't feel like I'm in trouble, but I should adjust.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
That's one of the things that makes these fighters interesting, though, is, you know what I mean? Rigondeaux's fun to watch, and Mayweather's fun to watch. They're not going to get hit, but these guys that get hit, like, Khan and things like that, they make boxing exciting. You know
Oh,
what I
there's
mean?
definitely way
They're going
more
to show
tension
up,
and atmosphere there, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So that's kind of what I like about him, and granted, it's a flaw, obviously, but I love it. I kind of like that about him.
Hmm.
One last thing about this before we move on. Simon, did you hear the HBO broadcast? Were you illegally watching this fight last night, or did you get the Top Rank feed on Box
It's
Nation?
Yeah, Box Nation had Top Ranks feed with Top Ranks commentary, so we did hear their commentary.
Okay, so I wanted
Oh, yeah.
Andre Ward was on the commentary, and he had this really good point about Ramirez, and it was that Ramirez he fought in the same gear throughout, and he's not elevating himself to that next gear where he could
Yeah,
probably score a stoppage of a guy like Vlasov and really make himself stand out, and which is what he really needed to do last night if he was really gonna convince people that he is here in the super middleweight division as a new contender.
this is it, and that's where the big interesting question lies: is does he have higher gears and he chose not to use them because he felt content that he was winning comfortably, or was that him in high gear?
Exactly, that's what I wanted to ask you guys.
And I really couldn't speculate. My gut says he hasn't got more than that. That he couldn't have done more if pushed.
I
But
think
Yeah,
who knows? People surprise you in the ring. They grow on the night.
exactly. Yeah, that's a very, very tough question to answer, and it's only going to be once we see him need to do it and fail to, or
Yeah.
need to do it and raise to the occasion that we'll really know. But he definitely stayed stuck last night.
Yeah, and I think for DeGale has shown, I think DeGale has clearly shown he can get to that level. And I think the more or the better his competition gets, the better we're going to see DeGale get. Groves has shown that he can't get to that next level. Smith, who knows? What is he, like 8 years old right now? Um, and Arthur Abraham and Paul Smith, I just wanted to mention them because Abraham's got a title and Smith might have a stake at that title, whatever. They're going to fight each other and figure it out. And those guys are out there too. But let's move off of this, and we'll stay with some British boxing, though. So Anthony Joshua was supposed to headline a card this weekend, and Joshua injured himself. So now we got John Ryder and John Murray, who I'm sure you guys are bursting at the seams to talk about.
Simon.
Exactly. Exactly. But is the card still worth watching now that Joshua's off of it?
That's a difficult one to. I don't want to be too negative on it, but no, I don't. I don't think that that's going to be a huge draw now.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Your tone of voice is worrying me. What have I done?
Oh, nothing, nothing. I mean, in case people don't remember, John Murray's. Wait a second. John Murray? Did I write this correctly? I didn't write this correctly. I got to take that back because it's not John Murray who's fighting this weekend. John Murray fought last year and got knocked out by Anthony Crolla.
Yeah, $1 million got him.
What?
$1 million crawler.
Oh, is that his nickname?
Yeah, he does go by $1 million crawler.
Oh,
His
jeez.
nickname should be Toyota.
The everyman's car.
The most reliable boxer in Britain. No,
The
it's
most
it's, it's
stolen
Kevin
car.
Mitchell. And if you guys don't remember, Kevin Mitchell was on the Froch Groves 2 undercard, and he was losing against the African fighter. I think he was from Africa, and then scored that 11th round knockout. Yeah, you guys don't remember, so we'll just move on. Anthony Joshua.
I do remember. He's lightweight, isn't he, coming in?
Yes, he will be a lightweight. And he's fighting the guy that Omar Figueroa knocked out last summer.
Yeah, I don't know what real importance it has to the lightweight scene, but it looks like it could be interesting.
Have you seen much of John Ryder?
No,
John the Gorilla Ryder? No.
no, I don't think so. Why'd you mention it?
Oh well, he's also on the undercard. At one time, he was fighting for the British Commonwealth middleweight title, and Billy Joe Saunders took him 12 and beat him.
No, I've not seen much of their career yet. I mean, one of the things that is annoying is with the undercards, you don't always get them broadcasted. Sometimes they'll happen throughout the afternoon because they'll like to put on a card that's literally got between 9 and 14 bouts, and unless there's big names in it, they'll only show the last kind of three. And if you're lucky and there's an early stoppage, they might show one from recorded from earlier.
Yeah, which is kind of how it works over here too. Yeah, I
Which
mean,
is a
I don't
shame.
think this card is really. I
I
don't want
think
to
it
say it's
did
not
live and
worth watching.
no, I'll definitely watch it, but it did live and die on AJ being on it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
without a doubt. I mean, you're not going to be able to replace that.
which really speaks to just how big Anthony Joshua has gotten in just a really short amount of time.
He's been doing all the right things though. I was watching the Heavyweight Hopes documentary that they did on him. It was just a little hour special on Sky Sports, and it said there it'd be easier to list the things that aren't going his way than to go through the things that are, because it is just like kind of Cinderella story in the makings, and I think he has got the potential to go all the way. And there's a quote from Eddie Hearn there who said that if he isn't unified heavyweight champ by the end of his career,
He'll chop his
someone's
head
not
off.
done their job right. Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
no,
I think his
I
comment was
agree.
directed at himself as well. It was all of the people on the team
Absolutely.
are going to be at fault if this doesn't get completed the way it should.
No, I absolutely agree. If Joshua doesn't someday capture the title, he doesn't do it on the biggest stage possible, and not just some fight in Manchester that isn't even broadcasted in America, but I mean on the biggest stage you can have. I don't know if Joshua will become a pay-per-view star, mostly because he's not an American. And
And
I'm
the
speaking.
model's not really here. There's far fewer pay-per-views here. I think we had 2 for last year, and that was probably the most we've had in any given year in ages.
Yeah. Uh, did you pay for that Nathan Cleverly Tony Bellew rematch?
Yeah. I'll pay for all of them because you have to, but they're not. I don't know. I think the numbers were definitely less impressive than Froch Groves. I get the impression with that matchup that Sky had kind of said, "Oh, you had such success with that pay-per-view. Do another one in winter." And it's like, well, how? The fight. The reason Froch Groves was such the second fight was such a big success is because it had all the elements already there. It wasn't designed to be a pay-per-view. It just made sense to make it that because of how big it was. And I think that it was the other way around with the Cleverly Bellew. It was kind of like, what can we make as a pay-per-view fight? How about this card? So because it had been approached from the wrong way around, it just didn't net the same results. But yeah, I don't think AJ will go the pay-per-view route just because it's not typically done. He might do, but it's not typical. I mean, Klitschko, for example, he's not on pay-per-view over here. It's just rarer.
Do you think that Hearn could somehow get AJ in a fight with David Haye within the next, say, 2 years?
Definitely, 100%. I've kind of got a sneaky feeling that might happen before the end of this year.
Who do you favor?
AJ by a country mile.
Really?
Yeah,
Do you-
so last year in about, I think it was September time, there was Cassius Coogan caught up with David Haye, who'd been meeting with Al Heyman, and he was kind of cagey and didn't want to say too much. But I think it looks like Heyman's going to be doing some business with David Haye. And if that happens, I wouldn't be surprised if Haye's priorities are on getting a title shot with Wilder. However, if that can't happen for one reason or another, I think that the fallback plan has to be come out of retirement to take on AJ.
is that British pay-per-view quality?
What, AJ v Haye?
Yes.
Yeah, because of the legacy that Haye has. Haye's really well known and popular here. So I think that his star power alone, combined with the public interest, and there's a bubbling sense of like suspense and expectation around AJ that it would definitely capture the public imagination.
Yeah. One of the things that I really like about Haye is he knows how to sell a fight.
Oh
There
yeah.
are very few as good as Hay at drawing up interest in themselves based off of what they say in interviews and in TV shows. What some of the most captivating, I think it's Ringside that Sky does, that TV show where they do
Hmm.
the interviews. I know Hay is one of the most interesting guys to listen to.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And when he's hangs the gloves up for good, maybe he already has. We'll see whether he comes back. But there's definitely an opportunity for him to be someone's PR advisor because he's textbook excellent PR. If you look at the way that the fight for Klitschko was built up, Hay was acting like a fool. He was playing the heel,
Yeah.
playing the full villain. And then when there was the matchup with Fury, suddenly he's the respectable, don't want to get involved in slinging mud or any, I'm too good for that, and let Fury become the heel. So he's totally aware of what power part of the dynamic he has to play. And, with Klitschko, obviously, you're not going to get Klitschko to start, being insulting and degrading because it's not Klitschko's style. So Hay realized he had to do that. And then against Fury, obviously, you're not going to have to give him much coaching to play the villain and to spout
No.
off.
Fury's
That
another
comes quite
one.
naturally. Yeah, so Hay realized, in this situation, I'm going to be the bigger man, gentleman, side of the matchup. So yeah, he's very astute in that. And in terms of coming against AJ, I think he'd probably play it from I'm going to teach this young, whippersnapper a lesson. He thinks that he's special, but he's never come up against a
Textbook.
true. Yeah, exactly. And I'd be amazed if he didn't play it that way. But we'll see. There's a few moving parts in this one because obviously, if he is signed under Heyman, and I don't think there's any official confirmation about that, then those strings are going to be tightly orchestrated. And the most money for Hay has got to be in a Wilder fight right now.
Yeah, and I think the best move for Wilder too is to take a risk and fight Hay. I mean,
Yeah.
if you lose, fine. But the exposure you're gonna get. I mean, we saw Wilder did a pretty good rating for Showtime with this fight with Stavern, but you got Hay as your, I don't know which way it'll go. I mean, since he has a British accent, he'll be the villain because in America, British accent means villain.
Yeah.
He will elevate Wilder before the fight even starts.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And this is the one people. There's lots of people here when I've spoken to them about that potential matchup have said, "Oh, Hay will wipe the floor with Wilder." And if it was the Wilder, the David Hay of 2009, or from years back, then yeah, I'd be inclined to agree with them. But we've not seen him in recent years. He's had his big shoulder surgery. There's every chance that he's not going to be a scrap of what he used to be. And then on the flip side, there's every chance he's going to come back just as strong as he has before. So it's a really exciting matchup for me on that front because you don't know how good he is anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Hey Jason, could you wake up?
No, I'm here. No, this is. I'm just letting you guys go, man. I'm fine. I'm here.
All right.
There hasn't even been a break in the conversation.
Let's get Jason involved, and we'll talk about Canelo signing to fight Kirkland or Kirkland signing to fight Canelo. However that worked out. It happened just a couple of days ago. What is going on? I thought Canelo had. I mean, Canelo insulted Cotto, and we should probably figure out what it was that Canelo said to offend Cotto so badly. But how in the world did Canelo go from negotiating with Cotto one day to the next day signing a fight with a guy who's notoriously difficult for negotiating with and getting in the ring?
Yeah, so I think the bottom line here is that Canelo and Cotto negotiations were never serious at all. It was all a propaganda ploy from Golden Boy Promotions, stating that Canelo's ready for the fight. Canelo signed everything he needs to. We're setting a deadline for the fight. Where my guess at this
Deadlines.
point, deadlines, right?
That's always a red flag.
Oh yeah. So, and then extended deadlines, even more red, crimson. So my guess is that Canelo Cotto was never in any kind of serious negotiations. The real negotiations were always going on behind the scenes at Kirkland, but Canelo Cotto was trying to, Golden Boy was trying to put on a good face, suggesting that, they were getting close with Cotto. When really, Cotto's going to, Cotto, Mayweather wants Cotto. Is my assumption right now. Golden Boy and Canelo were never even remotely close to having a Cotto fight signed. And the proof is in the pudding. The Kirkland fight came out 2 days, after Kirkland
Yeah.
signed. It just it
Definitely
doesn't
a
make
bit of
sense.
brinksmanship going on there, isn't there?
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt.
And I mean, is Canelo Cotto even competitive?
Are you a Kodo fan?
I'm not, and I'm indifferent if anything.
You guys want to know something really funny?
Yeah.
Kirkland was signed with Golden Boy a couple of years ago, and then he sued them and got the contract voided. This is only a couple of years ago.
Well, wasn't he scheduled to fight Canelo at one point too? A couple years ago, or no?
Um, I
Not
believe.
scheduled, but like they were negotiating
Oh
the
no,
fight. And then it was during
there
the whole
was some
Paul Williams
negotiation.
part, like when Canelo was going to fight Paul Williams, and it was like during that whole time period. I thought Kirkland's name got brought up at one point, and then Kirkland just kind of stopped showing up to the negotiation table.
Yeah, no, that definitely did happen.
So this is like the second time that they've almost been fighting each other.
As well as the second time Kirkland signed with Golden Boy.
Right.
Yeah, that's a bit of news that people may not remember. But hats off to Canelo, because whether he was going to fight Cotto or not, his recent resume is crazy. He's got Trout, Mayweather, Angulo, who everybody thought was going to kill him, by the way. Let's just make sure everybody remembers that. Lara, who everybody thought was going to box his ears off. And now Kirkland, who is a slow starter, but once he gets going, he's one of the most vicious fighters in the sport.
He's only carrying one loss on his record as well, is he not?
Yep. Yeah,
Who
just the
are we
Mayweather
talking
loss.
about?
Kirkland.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
Kirkland?
Kirkland's only been knocked out by Nobuhiro Ishida.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a hell of a recent resume, that's for sure. He's talk about somebody who's willing to step in the ring with anybody, and it's not going to turn down a risky fight. He does not care.
Yeah, and I don't think either of them have got anything to lose in terms of like record or reputation. They're just going to have a go at it, aren't they? I don't know. I don't feel too confident for either of them, really.
Yeah, I think if Canelo were wanted to, I think he could be very aggressive in the opening rounds and possibly stop Kirkland, but that's so counter Canelo's nature that I don't think it will ever happen. So you know what I mean? I think if he were to like say kind of redefine his style for this one fight and be very aggressive in the opening rounds, he may be able to get that stoppage because Kirkland's a little shaky in the beginning. He's coming off a 17-month layoff. We saw it in the Tapia fight. He got knocked around. You saw it in the Ishida fight. He got knocked out in the first couple rounds. So you see what I'm saying? Like, he definitely is a slow starter, and if Canelo could use that to his advantage, I think he'd be better off in this fight. I just don't necessarily think that he's going to do that. So.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one. So what does that mean then? If Cotto's out free, do we expect Mayweather Cotto too?
That would
You
be
should have been expecting that for the past year.
Yeah.
And, interestingly, then, if that's happening, do you think that pressures Pacquiao Khan?
Right.
Well, no, it pressures Pacquiao Vargas.
Stop.
Vargas,
Stop it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. I don't think they've had any intention of putting on a bigger or better show. They don't seem to care about competing in that sense.
Oh, Pacquiao Vargas. It definitely, the second
You'll watch it. Don't lie.
I'll buy it.
Yeah,
I'll
buy it.
tell you, I'll buy it. I'll shell out whatever it is, $65 or something. No, I'll buy it, and I'll be mad about buying it. It will be me and 200,000 other people.
Oh, you're generous.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see, because Khan's got to do something.
Just let me finish this on the Canelo Kirkland thing. I think that if this fight is for real, they're actually going to fight and they're going to do it May 2nd opposite Mayweather versus Cotto. I think Canelo is going to... This fight looks almost exactly like the Angulo fight. I think Canelo is going to light Kirkland up. And I'm a big fan of Kirkland, and I really like Kirkland. I just don't think he's as good as people think he is.
Well, and Canelo does well when you're aggressive with him. right? Like
Yeah, he's a
that.
pretty good counterpuncher.
Yeah, that he's gonna feed off Kirkland's aggression, and as Kirkland turns on more, Canelo's gonna turn on more.
This is
Hmm.
crazy, okay? But I really think that Canelo is a big version of Marquez. He's not as
Uh,
good as a counterpuncher, but he's in the, like built from the same mold.
When you say Marquez, you mean JMM Marquez?
Yeah, Juan Manuel, the guy who knocked out Manny Pacquiao.
No, you're crazy. You're crazy.
I'm not
That's a,
crazy.
you are crazy. They
I've
got.
said some dumber things than this, all right?
Well, I'm not going to
you sure
contest
have.
that, but Marquez Canelo comparison? Are you mad?
No, I'm not. I'm not saying that he's as good and he's going to be a legend in the way Marquez was and he'll knock out one of the most popular fighters in boxing one day. What I'm saying is that Canelo is a really good counterpuncher who puts combinations together really well and he feeds off of certain types of fighters.
Well, as long as that's as far as your analogy and comparison goes, then I do support that. I can't disagree at that point.
And I think he's when matched well, Canelo has looked like $1,000,000. And when he
When
hasn't been matched well, he looks pretty ordinary.
Yep, that's exactly right. When he's matched well, he looks like a killer. He
But you could
looks
say the
like
same about some of the more popular fighters in the sport too.
you could say the
Yeah.
same about just about every fighter. Like
Hmm.
boxing is a game of matchmaking. It really is. Styles make fights, and they know the right styles to put in with Canelo to make him, look fantastic.
But
And
do you
I
think they actually bothered doing that though? Knowing it's one thing, but
oh
has
no,
he
they
been?
don't. He fought
I,
Lara. Like
yeah,
that's
I
he
think
fought
he's had
Austin
some
Trout.
bad matchmaking.
Right.
Well, the problem is that Canelo doesn't realize this. He's the only
Well,
one that doesn't know, and he chooses to fight fighters that are awful styles for him.
Yeah,
it's not that he doesn't know, it's that he doesn't care. I think he's
yeah,
a
I think.
fighter's fighter. He's a throwback. He's like, who's the best? I'll fight them. It's not that he doesn't know, it's that he's willing to take on the challenge. And, good for him. And more boxers should be that way.
Definitely,
He's
yeah.
got
Which
a
is
great attitude. He fought Austin Trout. Like, no, when nobody wanted to fight Trout coming off
after
that Cotto
Trout
win.
schooled Cotto.
You know what I mean? Nobody wanted a piece of Trout, and he said, "Fine, I'll fight him. That's who you want." You know what I mean? So everybody knew Trout was a bad style matchup. Everybody knew Lara was a bad style matchup, but the kid doesn't care. He's young, so he does. It doesn't matter. He gets a couple losses early on. It's
Yeah,
irrelevant.
what is he now? Is he like 24, 25?
Yeah, he's like 24.
24.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing. I mean, that is the crazy one with Canelo is that we talk about him like he's been a seasoned vet in the pro scene for years, but he's still fresh. It's incredible when you look at it from that context.
The thing about Canelo that worries me is you look at him and he is young and he is fresh and he's almost the age of a lot of the other prospects that we like. But the question is he developing from fight to fight? With these other prospects that are 23 years old, you see different wrinkles in their game from fight to fight. Whereas
Yeah.
with Canelo, I feel like, yes, he's young, but I don't see the development.
So
Right?
you think he's at his full build already?
I think he's close. I don't necessarily think he's there, but I don't consider him a prospect just because of his age.
Mm. Yeah, no, it would
Do you
be
see what I'm
rude
saying? Well,
call
it's
him
dumb to call him a
prospect,
prospect, but
but
you know what I'm saying.
yeah,
He's not
he
developing for
he's
as
not in
young as
learning
he is.
fights. Yeah,
Exactly.
I
For
think
as
he
young as
is.
You
I think he's
so?
developing. I think sometimes it's tough to see because he's fighting Floyd Mayweather and he's fighting Erislandy Lara.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
that's
I
that's
do
probably
think
a
he's
fair
getting
point.
better though.
Yeah,
He
that's a
is,
fair point.
and he progressed when he's matched correctly. I mean, boxing's so much about matchmaking, but when he's matched correctly, he has shown massive strides. Like whoever he was before the Trout fight, he was a completely different fighter in the next one. And one of the things that he's really starting to show off, except for the Lara fight,
So that's
he's getting a lot smarter in the ring.
okay. Yeah, because I was going to throw the Lara fight at you, but
No, the
if
Lara
you take
fight,
if you take that out of the picture, okay.
both guys needed to be punished for that one. That's why he's fighting Kirkland.
Seriously. Yeah.
What, for
And
his
Lara
sins?
fought
That's his
Ishe
penance,
Smith.
is it?
Uh,
Well, I could see how Kirkland could be viewed as an Angulo 2.0. So
Yeah,
Canelo really, he might be able to do the same thing. Who knows?
definitely risky fight. Hats off for it getting made.
Yeah.
it's another risky fight.
Go on.
Whoever's fighting Andy Lee next. Because you could be sparking this guy. And if he lands his hook, who knows? Everything gets tossed in the air. But I wanted to ask you guys, who do you guys want to see Andy Lee fight next? There's rumors that it's going to be Peter Quillen, and that fight probably takes place in Brooklyn, or maybe it's Billy Joe Saunders, who the WBO wants him to fight. And
You can't seriously expect Quillen in that fight, can you?
What?
You can't expect Quillen to take that fight, can you?
I can't.
To take it as in agree to fight
Accept
him?
it, sign it, and stand in the ring. Yeah,
I do.
you really do. Wow.
You expect Quillen to win.
I expect Quillen to win too.
I think he's got probably he'd be a massive odds-on favourite, Quillen, but I don't see him taking the risk. Why would you fight him?
Who else is he going to fight
He wants his belt
for a
back.
title?
Yeah.
Golovkin?
Yeah,
You having a giggle?
he'll fight Rubio or someone. Yeah, I mean,
Rubio? You can't be serious.
yeah, I think he's going to take really soft matches.
He'll fight Rubio for a vacant North American
Absolutely.
Continental Youth belt.
He'll definitely go and get the cereal box title. Or I just don't see him taking that sort of risk with Andy Lee. If he does, then I'll have to eat my words and take my hat off to him. But I really don't see it. I don't see him taking any sort of substantial risk, at least not this year.
I could see him taking the fight. I could see him taking the fight because I could also see Quillen in Quillen's team not viewing Lee as a credible threat. Even with what he's done in the past 2 years, they could chalk it up to lucky punches and say, hey, I could stay out of the way of that hook. You know what I mean? So
Let me ask you guys a question, though.
Yeah.
The old David Price trap of he just got lucky, let's have another go.
Let's let it happen. Exactly.
Yeah, okay. Maybe that's an interesting angle on it.
You never know. Yeah.
Al Heyman needs decent to very good fights to headline those NBC cards, because the NBC cards they have, I mean, he's announced 2, and they've got pretty good main events that would be really good fights on Showtime or HBO. And I think Peter Quillen is part of the plans. And what other fight out there is going to get him headlining an NBC card? I think that's what's going to drive Quillen's next
Trout
fight.
or Jermaine Taylor, I'm going to go with.
Jermaine Taylor's in jail.
Yeah,
For
they
how
could
long?
do that.
What's the deal with that?
They could do that from live.
Him
from
and Alvarado.
prison. They could
Yeah.
do
Yeah. Prison matchup. How long is Jermaine Taylor in for? What's the deal there?
I think he's still in litigation. He's still the court.
Yeah.
All the
So,
court stuff is still pending.
If in a few months' time he's not in jail anymore, I think that fight outsells Andy. Because the problem with Andy Lee is no one knows who the hell he is. Outside of hardcore boxing fans, he's not a public name. If you'd gone up to someone on the street and said, "Who's Andy Lee?" It'd be like, I don't know. Is that a
Maybe
cereal
they'll
brand
mistake
or...
him for the guy who's in the Subway commercials.
He could. But one of the fights that I thought was Gil. He could fight Gil. Not that Gil's well known, but it's a fight that I think could get made.
Problem for
What
him
about-
is that Golovkin keeps beating him to all of these people.
Right.
Because
What
Martin
about
Murray,
Jacobs?
good pick, but that's already underway against GGG.
Jacobs,
happened with Daniel
that's a
Jacobs?
really good fight. And I think
Yeah.
that's got a perfect selling point, too.
Why not Quillen Jacobs? That's a good fight.
Yeah, that sells well, doesn't it? But my point is, it's not going to be Andy Lee. It's not going to, it's not going to be any. I'll tell you the other one. It could be actually Sam Solomon.
There you go. Yep.
Is
Someone who's-
Solomon recovered? Does he have
Mate, it would
mobility
be
in
one
his
of the-
legs now?
It would be like Martinez Cotto,
Martinez.
where on paper everyone thinks, Sam Solomon's going to come in here live, and he's just not. Yeah, I think we'll see from Quillen intelligent selling matchmaking that doesn't put him in any real harm's way.
Well, that takes Quillen out from headlining one of these cards. Then I
don't think it does. Why would that be a necessity? You can market Sam Solomon, right? Daniel Jacobs, as you commented,
you can. How are you going to market Sam Solomon?
You can put it on. He's got
Sam's-
a huge track record. You'd definitely be able to sell it on his reputation and highlight reel alone.
I had to do so much research to write a preview on Sam Solomon and try to make that rematch with Jermaine Taylor seem appetizing. Okay.
Well, I mean, God, that's like appetizing. Oh God, that's the furthest thing from appetizing. But at least with Quillen,
The only
I
thing you
don't.
have to say about Solomon is he beat Sturm in Germany.
Yeah,
Twice.
Well, twice, yeah. But
But
yeah,
he
you know,
got
I mean,
popped for diuretics
yeah.
or
right.
weight loss pills or
hmm
whatever it was.
Yeah,
hmm
I mean,
So yeah, that's no easy task. But you know, I think that there's ways of pumping it up, and you'll
Okay.
find a way to headline that fight.
So back to the original question. What do you guys want to see Andy Lee do?
I want to see him fight Saunders. Personally, I want to see him fight Saunders. I think it's a great fight. It could be in the UK or back home in Ireland, I think is what they were thinking of doing it, as he was
I,
going to be
I
in
The
love
same
that
Ireland.
fight.
thing.
I absolutely love that fight.
I love it, but with Billy Joe Saunders, and I'm going to answer my own question in a minute, but he's taken what was seen as a high risk fight against Eubank Jr. Does he now
Right.
take another dangerous fight? And I think yes, he does. I think that
Absolutely,
he's going
he
to be an
does.
absolute, maniac. He's going to be a Canelo style fight anyone person. I get the impression from Saunders.
Okay,
No,
but
you
let's. How high risk is Lee? I mean, you know what I mean? That's the thing. He's coming off a spectacular 2014. I think he's going to beat Saunders, but again, I think people could still underestimate Lee. I really do. So I think he's not going to have the hardest time getting fights. I hope he's
Mhm.
not. You know, I really do, because I'd love to see that Saunders fight.
can I give you guys a statistic here?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm actually doing the math though, but I spoke too soon. No, I'm
Do-
done. So do you
Okay.
know uh Billy Joe Saunders, his last one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, his last seven opponents. You know what their combined record is?
Let me guess.
Go ahead and guess.
104, 59, and 8.
I said Billy Joe Saunders, not someone else.
Okay. What is it?
So his last seven opponents combined record of 120 and 7,
7. Wow,
and
that's
all 7 losses come from 2 fighters.
Yeah.
really
In
okay.
inside of that, inside of his last opponents includes Jared Fletcher, who was a really good amateur and he's a decent contender.
Yeah.
John Ryder, another who was an undefeated British prospect, Emmanuel Blandamora, who had come off a pretty good win, and Chris Eubank Jr., who is either going to be a pound for pound fighter someday or he's going to fizzle out.
But the point is, he'd gone into it undefeated, and you know, what I mean, like it was a big risk fights. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
definitely
Eubank
taken on lots
Jr.,
of.
who knew what was going to happen there? He could have knocked Saunders out in one round. That's
Yes.
how
So
good at times
yeah,
Eubank had looked.
and in his last 7, you mentioned, so 5 of his last 7 all undefeated.
Yeah. Who in boxing can boast that?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Very few.
So yeah, will he take Andy Lee? I reckon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Yep.
he definitely take. I think Saunders will take Golovkin.
You think so?
Yeah,
He just
I-
strikes his guys like I'll fight anybody. Put
Wow.
them here.
I
I'd
think he'd
love to
take that
see
fight as well, and that'd be amazing.
do Lee Saunders winner Golovkin. You know, I'd love that too. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
definitely great storyline.
Yep.
Just one little, since we're on the subject of Saunders, he's the great grandson of one of the most famous Gypsy bare knuckle champions.
Yeah,
So
sounds about right.
he's got fighting like
He's got
his
it in the
genes.
blood. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in his genes, yeah, that's it. And I think while the current top tier are doing everything they can to not fight Golovkin, we're going to have to find people from beneath and elevate them to a position where they're ready, because the top aren't coming looking for him.
I mean, I think the middleweight division is at a period where there's going to be a lot of turnover, and guys like Billy Joe Saunders are on the rise, and we see Lemieux's on the rise. Hugo Centeno scored that nice knockout, and he could be a player. And I think Saunders needs to find a way to get onto American TV and just win.
Yeah, the only one with that is that a few of the boxers from Traveller Heritage have had difficulty with getting visas and fighting in the US. It's been not friendly for them coming over there. So I can see if they were adverse to it, it wouldn't be out of fear of matchmaking or anything like that. But sometimes people in their corner aren't allowed to come into the country.
Pull a
Yeah.
Marvin Murray and do the fight in Monaco. You know.
Yeah, and it's as long as the counterparts to the fight agree to that.
Yeah, exactly. Which always
Yeah.
isn't the case.
And
Right.
for
Yeah.
Murray to get on TV, he had to fight Sergio Martinez
In
and Gennady
Argentina,
Golovkin,
in the
which
rain.
are HBO's guys. You
Right.
Yeah.
know, Saunders isn't gonna get onto our TV unless he's fighting Golovkin or he's fighting Quillin.
Right.
Yeah. No, totally. I fully agree.
But at least with Golovkin, Golovkin's willing to fight outside the U.S., whereas I don't expect Quillen to fight outside the U.S. anytime soon.
Yeah.
No. Maybe he fights Lemieux. I think that's a good fight. He can fight Lemieux in Montreal.
Who's Saunders Lemieux?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Or Lee
Yeah.
Lemieux. Lee Lemieux would be crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, there's lots. It's a
There's
division
so
that's
great
reset,
options.
and there's a lot going on now.
Yeah.
Yeah, all you guys need to do is just forget about Jermaine Taylor and Sam Solomon, though.
I
can
don't
never
think
bring
that the
them up
market's
again.
going to. I think that they're going to be used again as a defense ploy.
You think so? Yeah, they'll
Yeah,
just be
I think
brought
they're going to
in
be
get beat
marketed
up.
as a
Yeah.
I totally think that that's going to happen.
They have the name. It's going to be Alvarado.
Yep.
They're going to use the name. I'm serious. Yeah.
All right, guys. So I wanted to ask you guys a bunch of questions just randomly and get your
Okay.
first answer. So maybe take 30
They're
seconds
gonna-
to answer these
It's going to be
questions.
difficult. Should I have
They're
done
going to be
home?
difficult questions.
Okay.
Um,
We'll take turns with them, or should we each
yeah,
one
no,
get
take
it?
turns.
Okay.
So, Jason, why don't
All
you
right.
go first?
I've had a late night. Go easy. Go on.
Who is your favorite fighter? No, I'm kidding.
Manny Pacquiao.
No. Don't do that.
Sorry.
Don't go there.
1 minute. 1 minute.
right.
1 hour. 1 minute. 14 seconds. Edit. Mark. Okay.
Nope, that one stays in. That one stays
No,
in.
no, that one comes out. No, okay. Go
That's part of your legacy now.
All right, it's been 1 week since Wilder Stavern, and everybody's kind of had a chance to digest it and stuff.
Yes.
Is Wilder a threat to Vladimir Klitschko?
No, not at this point. Not at this point. He needs to get a couple more credible wins under his belt, and we'll see where he goes from there. The reason is because Stavern was almost as much of a what am I trying to say here? He was
a punching bag?
That's not quite what I was going for. He was dehydrated, don't you remember? No, but he was as unproven as Wilder was. So what I'm saying is the win over an unproven fighter, no, I'm not going to say that you are going to be a legitimate threat at this point. I want to see him in with higher level competition.
Yeah. I think
Stavern's corner.
all Wilder needs to do to be credible against Klitschko, I think all he needs to do is become massively better than he currently is.
Step one.
That might be tough. I think Stavern's corner should have pulled an Eric Morales and just given him Gatorade in the corner. All right. Well, Simon, Kell Brook's machete injury, he's all healed up and he's ready to go against Jojo Dan in a couple of months. I'm just curious, though. Was that injury the result of some guy being crazy, or is Kell involved in some Mike Alvarado type of things?
I think it was a little bit nefarious, wasn't it? Because it was in Tenerife, wasn't it? So there's sides of British boxing that's a little bit linked with like criminal activity and whatnot, and all of the shady stuff seems to go on in those islands, in the sort of Balearic or that area. There's lots of like Marbella and Tenerife incidents that are unsavory. So I don't know. It's obviously speculation, but because of where it took place and it involved boxing, I think that when those two things go together, if someone gets injured suspiciously in one of those islands and is a boxer, there is a good chance that something shady was going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, see, I didn't even know about the geography of it like you do, but just from hearing the storyline, something seemed fishy.
Well, yeah, those islands are sort of where lots of retired criminals will go because they can sort of get away with, they come there with lots of money, and so the local administration are sort of lenient to their previous transgressions just because they're coming in with a bunch of money, and then they're sort of hidden from the UK justice system. So yeah, I think there's every likelihood that there was something shady going on, and not necessarily that Brook was involved or at fault, just caught up in some shadiness.
Exactly, right. And not to mention, I think the person that did it is unaccounted for, yet people kind of know who he is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which makes you wonder a little bit.
Mm.
So, next.
Yeah, it definitely sounds fishy to me. I think we already kind of covered this, but if Jesse Vargas gets the Manny Pacquiao fight, are you guys still gonna order it?
Yes, my wife
Um,
loves Manny Pacquiao.
It'll be on Box Nation for no additional cost to what I already pay. So yes.
Would you pay? Would you double your Box Nation monthly fee that month for the fight?
Well, it's a tenner, so going from a tenner to a score, yeah, definitely it's going to be worth it. If you'd asked if I'd pay a one-off £50 charge, probably not.
I will.
Okay, whatever that means.
Yeah, no, he's saying like a
There's a lot of words there I didn't understand.
Yeah.
If there was a like pay-per-view model and it was like £50, then no. I think I'd go as high as 20 quid for it.
I think with the exchange rate, it would probably be like 25 or 30 for you.
Yeah, for standard def.
It's a touch high. I probably would.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it'd be a little bit higher. Yeah.
Yeah, that undercard better
What
be
is it
good.
with this cheaper standard definition? I see it every now and again where it's like two prices, one for high def, one for standard def.
Yeah.
Like they're sending data. You know, the size of the data they're sending is not massively different. You know what I mean? It's not like we're paying their internet bill for them. I think it's just a marketing ploy to
absolutely
drive
ridiculous.
your HD higher. Yeah,
It's exactly just a way to
that's
make you pay more. Yeah.
it's a practice that needs to die. I think the only way is that if everyone just bands together and only ever buys the SD one.
I think that should be standard now. Didn't they? I mean, at least here they made this thing where they stopped sending out a certain type of signal, and everybody had to get new receiving.
Yeah, they did
adapters.
that here a few years ago. Went digital rather than analog with the
Exactly. Yeah.
transmissions. Yeah, I think
But
that
you
was
can
like
still have
2006
standard
here.
definition.
But you can still get standard def, yeah, through
Right.
digital.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We just did that about 2 years ago or 3 years ago here. The switch from analog to digital. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
welcome to
lucky,
the 21st
though.
century.
Welcome. Yep. We're here.
Glad to have you.
For some reason, my cable provider charges about $10 less for pay-per-views.
No way.
What than other cable providers?
Yeah, whenever
That's weird.
they release like, oh, it's going to be on like an article that says $69.99 for pay-per-view, it's usually $10 cheaper on my cable.
Are you buying the standard def feed?
I did once on accident, and I called and complained.
cheaper.
No, I on the Mayweather Maidana rematch, I accidentally ordered it in standard and called and complained, and the girl's like, "Oh, that's not a big deal at all," and she switched it like instantly.
Yeah, I've done that too. I bought it.
Yeah. God, can you
I bought
imagine
it.
having to watch Bay Vasquez in standard def? You'd be missing out.
That's why I was panicking because I was like, "Oh my god!" If it was in standard definition, I might not have seen half of the punches that were landed in that fight. I could have missed a lot, and I might have seen Bay winning that fight wide. I don't know that way.
Yeah.
All right, so if Pacquiao gets Vargas,
Yep.
and Mayweather fights Cotto,
Yep.
what do you want to see Khan do next?
Oh,
I know he's your favorite fighter, so why don't you go second? Let Jason say the good stuff about him.
Oh boy, what do I want to see Khan do next?
Yeah. Now remember that a lot of people are
finish a
tied up
12-round fight without being knocked down.
Oh god, how long has it been since he's been on the canvas?
One fight.
I think he's only fought, twice in the last 2 years?
Yeah, and in one of those he went down, I think. But I wouldn't mind. I mean, are we opening it up to like top rank fighters? He's not with Heyman, right?
No, he's under Heyman, I think.
He's under Heyman.
with Heyman.
Okay, so he's a Heyman guy. What are his options? I mean, get him in with Thurman. Get him in with.
Thurman's tied up.
Well, I know
Maidana?
everyone's
Before
tied
Bay.
up though.
So
But everyone's tied up.
You know who's not tied up?
Who?
Maidana.
Yeah, I was going to say Maidana
There you
makes sense, but
There's a good rematch.
it kind of, I feel like Amir Khan's paid his dues to get top title shot, and it's just
You think
silly
so?
now that we're just. Yeah, I think so.
It's an
I mean,
interesting point.
only if we're living in a world where Maidana and
Beats
Rios
Berto.
get to fight Pacquiao and Mayweather.
Right.
Why
There
don't
were
Khan get
reasons
to?
for that. Can I throw an interesting fight at you guys that I think would sell massively. You could might maybe even put it on pay-per-view. Khan versus Marquez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
if
that's
he
Al
beats
Heyman top rank.
Marquez,
That's
true.
so.
But I don't think I may be wrong on this, but I don't think that Marquez actually has any contract with Top Rank. I think he's a free agent.
I
Okay.
think so, yeah.
Okay.
I think you can put that on pay-per-view. If not, you can put that on NBC. Now, Marquez would need to spurn Top Rank and risk not getting a fifth
HBO.
Pacquiao fight.
Right.
I've got it. I've got the best option for Amir Khan right now.
Khan versus Alvarado.
No, better. Paulie Malignaggi.
Oh.
Just
Eric fought
imagine
him.
imagine the run up to that fight.
A
The presses for that would be better than the fight.
Isn't that
lot of
almost
side
like
piece
Paulie?
stealing.
Yeah, that would be fantastic just from a promotional point of view. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Khan's got a lot of strong options because I think he's done everything shy of fighting the top people now. If he's just kind of got to wait. And Kell
Why not
Brook will be
Porter?
there, but yeah, he could do that, I guess.
Porter?
Yeah.
He's already fighting.
Yeah. I mean, so many Heyman's guys are tied up. Khan doesn't have any options. He has pretty limited options right now.
Yeah, I mean, of the guys who don't have a fight or don't have a fight that's
That's what
likely
I'm
to
saying.
happen,
Frankie
there's only
Gavin,
Marquez,
maybe.
Maidana, Bradley.
What do you think, Gavin?
Why would Khan fight Gavin?
Because what the hell else is he going to do while he's waiting for
I'd rather
Pacquiao
fight
or
Paulie
Mayweather to come
Malignaggi
around?
again.
Yeah.
Like, Gavin could get frisky and upset Khan. It's unlikely, but he could. Gavin is not a bad fighter, but he's also
No,
not
no.
a great one.
He could get frisky. That was good.
So, and this, okay, so just making sure we tied up. So Pacquiao's going to get Vargas, Mayweather gets Cotto,
No, but quick question.
Canelo, Kirkland.
You don't
What?
think that Pacquiao Khan is any kind of serious negotiations because of just like the whole Al Heyman top rank thing?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay.
Like, just think about this though. Khan and Pacquiao they've been saying that they are meeting. They don't decide anything because
Yeah.
the business side of it they don't control. Like, what color are the ropes going to be? Who's going to have the little thing that goes across the rope, and what is it going to say there? Is it going to say Pacquiao Promotions? I don't think so. I don't think Pacquiao's got a license to do a fight in Vegas or in London or wherever they want to do the fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who's going to broadcast it? Those are the conversations that need to get taken place. And until the people who actually have a say with those things are talking, that fight is just a pipe dream between two fighters who used to be friends, but maybe they still are.
Gotcha.
Mikey Garcia is coming back in the coming months, and it's at 140. Who do you guys want to see him fight? And who do you think he's going to fight?
Crawford. Get him over
Okay.
Crawford.
So that's who you want to see him fight, but
Yeah,
you don't
how
think
likely
he's going
is
to
that?
fight.
And
Because I'd like to
You
see him
did
fight
ask.
Broner, but
You did ask that. Yeah.
I know. I shouldn't have said that.
Go ahead, Simon. I got to think about it.
no, I think Broner's nice as well. I don't know. Do we think that he will come back though?
Yeah, he's already said he's training. He says he's coming back, and the lawsuit with Top Rank, I think, was thrown out. I think I read that this past week.
Oh, interesting. That's a good development for him, if anything.
Good development. Right?
Obviously, a good development would have been in them siding in his favor, but at least it's over with. What about Algeria at 140?
It's a good fight.
Not the
It's-
riskiest comeback fight. It's
what-
No, I think it is pretty risky, though.
What was he fighting at this time last year? He was
130.
wasn't it-
35,
Yeah.
right?
No,
so-
it was 130.
yeah, he was
130.
at lightweight, wasn't he? So what weight do you think he's going to come back and fight at?
Well, he said that he was at 130, and the time off that in the time that he was off, he would have been at 135, which is lightweight. And now he says, I'm coming back at 140 because this is the natural progression upward.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning I'm going to get paid and cash out pretty quickly.
Right. Rios. Put him in with Rios.
They're both trained by his brother.
Oh, that's right. Darn. That would have been a good fight.
Not absolutely. I think the Algieri fight is actually pretty risky for him to come back after such a long layoff at a new weight. Algieri's got stamina for days.
I
And
know,
we
but he's a
saw
great
Mikey
fighter.
kind of struggle with a tall, lanky fighter in Burgos. Mikey's not that big of a guy.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I'd
think
favor Mikey, but I could see Chris, definitely putting up, a fight. But
one of my favorite rivalries in boxing is Freddie Roach's camp versus Robert Garcia's camp. And I think the best fight for Garcia coming back is Antonio DeMarco.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think if it's been a year layoff and a different weight class, why would you throw him in against someone dangerous like to that extent so early? So I think that's a good call.
Would you guys be opposed to him fighting Paul Spadafora?
He dropped Mayweather in sparring.
I thought he knocked him out, but
Oh.
must have heard something else.
No, he knocked him down first, then out.
Oh, okay.
I think
Okay,
that was the
so he
plan.
did the old Marquez.
Right.
Do you think he'll travel, Garcia? Sorry, Mikey. Even do you think he'll travel?
What do you have in mind?
Burns?
That might be a fight worth traveling for. Burns
Yeah.
is a draw.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
Burns
really
in
is.
Scotland.
Yep.
That's real interesting. I would love to see it.
But how? So this is really going to be a comeback fight for him. It seems like.
It's
Because- yeah.
He's taken such a layoff and he's coming back in a different weight class. He does need to reboot his career to an extent.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And
I just
people
hope
still
he fights
remember.
with. I hope he fights with some kind of frequency because I'd hate to see him take a nice easy comeback fight and then it's another 9, 10, 11 months before we see him again.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the most realistic fight we're going to see for him is he's going to fight another guy moving up in weight, some fringe lightweight, who sees an opportunity to fight, Mikey Garcia, who's is a decent draw.
Decent draw, yeah.
Right. Who do you think
Maybe-
that would be though?
I like Mercito Gesta as the opponent. He's been a lightweight. He can punch decently. He's Filipino. He's with Golden Boy now, but that doesn't look like it's going to be a problem.
Right.
Or Rod Salka.
Thierry Jean.
Deary Jean already moved up to 140 and failed. I don't think he's going to do that again.
Yeah, but this time it wouldn't be against a real 140, would it? It'd be against someone new to it too.
Yeah, that's really true.
So could you foresee Mikey taking one fight and then his next fight is Pacquiao in November?
Definitely.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Come on. You don't think that that's the plan
I know.
here?
Yeah. Yeah. No. That's what I'm just throwing it out there to talk about.
Yeah, I
that's
offer
why
like
that's why Pacquiao would go with Vargas, which isn't the toughest fight, and then
To
Garcia
prepare his
could
body
kind of
for
get
140.
yeah, exactly. And Garcia could get an adjustment fight in for himself for the long layoff. Then the two of them meet, and that's actually that's forgivable. Because I think I like that Pacquiao Garcia fight.
So does Vargas. I mean, no, Vargas doesn't like it.
Bob
Well, I
does.
guess Vargas does like it because that means
Vargas likes it because it's getting him a payday. Yeah.
Yeah.
on Manny's way down. Yeah.
What do you guys
Yeah,
think of Crawford's coming back? I think in April, and it's going to be in Omaha, so he's not getting any big fight too soon yet. What do you think about him and Benavidez?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a difficult one with Crawford because, like, I don't know. Like he's soaring through. What weight is this going to be at?
140.
At 140? Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that. What makes you think just because it's in Omaha that someone's not going to come for it?
Because he's really good.
Yeah, but again, it's the coming up in weight thing. I don't trust them until they've proved themselves at that weight against a natural at that weight.
Well, that's why I think Benavidez is a good opponent because he's got a belt. He beat Mauricio Herrera, quotation marks.
What belt's Benavidez got at the minute?
He's got the interim WBA, which is
it's
most
an
likely going to
interim.
be upgraded to full because Danny Garcia is going to leave the division, and Danny Garcia holds the full one.
Yeah, because he's got to be like not even top 10, not even top 20, is he, Benavidez?
Depends on who you're asking.
Yeah, of course, but like realistically,
No,
Realistically,
I don't think so.
probably just, I don't know, 21, 22 in that region. But so to get promoted to, champion from interim, I don't know. That'll be one of those ones where someone's got loads of status in a division that they don't necessarily have the skill or record to warrant.
Right, the credentials don't match.
Yeah.
I think it's a fine fight for Crawford, though. From
Yeah.
Just that perspective of him moving up in weight, I think it's a fine fight.
Yeah, you can't knock it. You got to get established within that new division. So yeah, why not?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'd love, Crawford versus Herrera might not be the most stylistic fight, but I'd love to see somebody beat Herrera. And I think Crawford could be
Like
the guy that
legitimately
would
beat him, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that would be the guy that could really put a punctuation mark on a win over Herrera.
I think that really that would be a massive step back for Crawford's momentum into
Yeah, you're right.
a
You're
Pacquiao
absolutely
fight.
right. Yeah, very good. That's a very good thought. No, you're absolutely right. Herrera isn't the guy to take on at that point. No.
No,
He's
Herrera should be avoided by anybody who wants to have a future making money in boxing because you're either going to lose or if you win somehow, you're not going to look good doing it.
Right. But I guess what I'm saying is I think Crawford might be the guy that could look good doing it. But there's no reason to fight Herrera at all. There's zero reason. What's Provodnikov up to? Does he have anything going on?
Well, depending on if you want to believe the rumors or the reports,
Oh, right.
he's probably going to fight Batiste.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And I mean, right now, I don't believe it. I don't think that anybody reputable is reporting it. And if it turns out to be right, then I take that back. But I don't think that fight's actually going to happen. It just doesn't make sense for those two to fight each other.
I think it does, and I think it will.
Right now, it makes sense for them to fight each other right now.
What else are they going to do?
Fight Alvarado.
Who?
Yeah?
Provodnikov? You already destroyed him.
So I
I'm
think
just
that's
kidding.
sensible. It's not the best fight.
Okay.
All right, folks.
Well, that'll be that for this week. We'll be back soon, depending on how Carl Dargan does.
Yep. I'm telling you, fight of the year.